So this video is going to actually show the adventures of 2 different days. Ultimately, I ended up in the same spot at the end of both days. And that's because I wanted to go back to a really cool spot I found. It's a really tight spot, really technical and tough to get in there. The wind was not playing nice either day, and it was pretty extreme. But I wanted to show some of the adventures from both the 2 different days, because there was some fun stuff leading up to this spot at the end. So we'll start off with those other spots first. Welcome to this canyon. This is an interesting spot. I've landed not too far from here before. What's interesting is you got the river over there, which is awesome, but there's also a highway, which is, helpful if something goes wrong. It does attract a little attention though, so we'll see how that plays out. But it's a really cool rugged spot in the canyon, and thought it might be a little colder today, so I kind of headed south to go to warmer areas, but it's plenty warm down here. It's probably 80 degrees. A little warmer than I was hoping. But anyway, we're gonna go look at some old homesteads. It looks like there's 2 old structures in the area, so we're gonna go find those and check them out. Well, this is pretty nice. Got some brickwork here. Nice front porch area. Wow. And a spot down here in the canyon with a river out front. Been pretty sweet. Looks like it's probably some kind of cellar. Be my guess here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm thinking so. It's quite a bit cooler down in there, just like you'd want it to be. Well, we got some urban decoration out here in the middle of nowhere, I guess you could say. Interesting. Well, there you have it. I think that's all the structures. Pretty cool spot though, really. Pretty interesting. I got an old corral here. A nice shot of the river here. You can see the highways right there though. And there's some train tracks over here. And that river would feel good today. It's got to be 85 degrees out here. Very nice. I'll probably pack up and get out of here and move on and find something else. Looks like a good little swimming hole right there in front of me though. Well, naturally it's actually a pretty windy day. And I was feeling it up high, but it's dead calm down here where it's 85 degrees in this tight canyon I got to climb out of. So that's normal. That's why I went to a lot of trouble to have a lot of power. That's a nice little spot here at 9,000. Wind made this one much more doable and pretty easy was able to line up into it, have a real short roll. I'm facing this way because the wind's blowing. Camera's gonna sound horrible, but I'll spin around here and show you the view. This is why I land. It's a pretty nice view with these mountains kind of all around it in a sense. Alright, so this last spot is a pretty cool place, and it's definitely technical. It would be challenging and technical without the wind being a factor. Both times I've been in there, 2 different weekends, the wind has not played along. It was coming in from the side like a crosswind, but when it hits the trees and the canyon and swirls, it was just doing all kinds of crazy things, and I had bad ground speeds both directions, dead sinking air off the ends. It was challenging enough and sketchy enough. I don't know that I'll go back, at least probably not for a while, just because the risk is a little high. Now, the reward is there as far as it is a beautiful spot. It gives you access. You got to hike down a hill and over a ways, but you get down to this beautiful little piece of this creek and a nice canyon, and it's a neat spot for sure. So there is some reward there. Is it worth it? Well, it'd be hard for me to really argue that. There's no pot of gold at the end here, or I'm not landing here to cure cancer. So things to keep in mind, but I do appreciate a challenge, and I like a spot like this, and it was cool to do it. And I want to take you guys along and kind of show you why I ended up landing both directions and some of the things that go into this. And it's a really tight squeeze. You really got to maneuver between the trees as you're coming in. It's a pretty fun spot. There was just enough wind to warrant me landing downhill. At least that's what I wanted to do. But that was sketchy, and I used up just about all there was. I mean, I could have ran down here further, but it starts getting steeper, and that isn't good. After looking at it now and seeing that it actually is fairly smooth, I had probably opted to land uphill with a tailwind. Just not knowing how rough it is, I wanted to have my ground speed as low as possible. So this is almost 9,000, and it's still 70 degrees out, so density altitude's up there, ground speed's high, and it's neither one's a good choice. You get really down to it. So the second day I came back, the following weekend, I wanted to land uphill. After being in there and seeing that the ground was pretty decent and no real surprises there, like big rocks or ditches or anything, I thought, landing uphill is the better way to come in here. And the wind was bad this weekend. It was even worse than the first one, and ground speeds were terrible both directions, so there was no reason to necessarily land downhill. But again, when you come in uphill like this, once you fully commit, and I'm talking like wheels on the ground, if you decide to go around then, it's really probably going to be ugly. I'm even making the low passes like I ended up doing, and the reason I made several low passes is when I came in here and I was fighting the wind and it was doing awful things. On one of them, the bottom kind of dropped out on short final, ran into some dead air there, and required a lot of power to keep it off the ground and go around.
And so once that happened, it spooked me a little bit, and I needed to work myself back down slowly, carrying a little extra speed to see if that dead air was going to be there, consistently, or if that was kind of a one-time thing. Because I got to get really slow and down in those trees in order to make the landing. But I'm not going to do that if the air is just falling out from under me every time. A lot of people would probably opt to come back another day, and that would be a good decision in this case. I decided I'd work at it a few more tries and feel it out, and it felt okay after that. So I just had to find my path through the trees, get my speed down, get lined up, and know that I could put the wheels on the ground where I need them so that I can roll out to a stop. And I did that, and it worked out fine. Being able to handle the airplane, stick and rudder, is of course very important, and that takes time. I've got enough hours in this airplane that I can do a pretty good job of putting it where I want it and how I want it and all that. But equally important is the judgment, making the call on whether you're going to land in such a place. And I would say I didn't do as well on that aspect because, again, there was no real reason why I had to do this, and it'd been better to come back another day. This time of year, the cold weather's coming. I'm not going to be up in the mountains much longer. I think part of that is the motivation to go ahead and stick it in there. And it's not an excuse, because it would be a pretty bad excuse, but it's just some things to think about. You got to be real with yourself and go, yeah, that wasn't the best choice. So I landed, everything worked out, but that's a pretty sketchy place to land. And like I said before, cool to do it. Just probably don't need to do that again.
What a fantastic day, you guys. Get to come out here and start, land a couple new places. And this one wasn't new, the other ones were new, but got to go down and see the river, and that was just awesome. So thanks for hanging out, Patreons. Thank you guys very much. Man, you guys are supporting the channel directly, and it makes all the difference. It really does. And thank you for that. And everybody else, please subscribe if you have not. Help me build this thing up. Can't keep doing it forever. If I can't, keep it growing, because it costs money to make these videos. And so all that kind of stuff helps to get things, get more exposure and beat the algorithms and all that stuff. So please subscribe if you have not. And thanks for coming along, you guys. Well, I don't know how many more of these we'll get before winter, but we'll just have to see what happens. Yeah, thanks for coming along. You guys know the deal. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.